I own and operate marinas. The name of my company is Chamonix Yacht.
So then the business starts to do a little bit better progressively. How did you manage to increase the profitability of the business?
Back in the day, I didn't make a penny for 9 months. My wife, thank God, she got a job and she supported the home until I really started seeing some money.
The progression of jobs you had before starting your current business, Chamonix Marinas,
I worked my entire life. I started working at the age of 5, rowing on cold showers, working along with my father.
So $125,000 with a 6% interest rate, doesn't sound like a bad deal from where I'm sitting. Welcome to the Leading Peers podcast. I'm your host, Leo Popik, the founder and CEO of Leading Peers, the community for CEOs to connect, collaborate, and grow. On this show, you will listen to some of the most amazing CEOs share their personal stories and the lessons they've learned along the way about leadership and life. Let's dive in. Good morning, Gonzalo. Welcome to the Leading Peers podcast.
Good morning, Leo. Thank you for having me. Honestly, I'm very honored and it humbles me to be in the first podcast of yours.
I'm excited to have you with us. Gonz, I'll tell you just a bit why I chose you for the first interview ever of the Leading Peers podcast. But before, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners by telling us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. Gonzalo Fernández. Before anything, I'm married. I'm a father. I'm a husband. My wife is Paola. My daughter is Amelia. And I own and operate marinas. The name of my company is Chamonix Yacht, a little company that we started about 14 years ago. We started in the cleaning, and then we grew into yacht management and marinas.
Thank you. Gonz, you're the first person that I interview on this show, and I chose you as my first guest because your story is very extraordinary and inspiring. I wanted to dive in and understand how you were able to create so much positive change over the course of your short lifestyle. How old are you, Gonz?
I'm 45.
45.
Right behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Could you paint a picture, Gonz, for us of the first 20 years of your life in broad strokes, so we get a sense of your upbringing and where you came from?
Sure. I was born and raised in Argentina, a small little town called Lules in Tucumán, northwest of Argentina. I worked my entire life. I started working at the age of 5. I mentioned with you many times the story of rowing on cold showers and just working along with my father. And by the age 21, I came here. So just regular working people.
Here to the U.S., right? At 21 is when
Yes,
you moved
at
to the
21,
United States.
I came to the United States. Correct. Yes.
Where'd you go exactly? What city did you go to at 21?
It was Hollywood. It was
Hollywood, Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. At the age of 16, I heard the story of the best friend of my aunt. She was working doing valet parking, and by doing valet parking, she was driving in a Honda Civic. And I like cars, so what I at the age of 16, I said, screw it. When I'm 21, I'm gonna go to Miami and be a valet parking. So that was the dream.
The dream to get to that Honda Civic. Hey, it's a
Yes,
good car.
I never had it, but I never had a Honda Civic. But I got to be a valet parking for many years actually.
And so that's how it started. That was the first job when you arrived here in the States, valet
No,
parking.
no, that was the second. When I remember I came here on a Thursday, and by Monday I was working on a industrial laundry, just cleaning bed sheets and gowns for the hospitals, that kind of stuff. I worked there for about 5 to 6 months. And in month 4, I already started working as a valet parking. So I had 2 jobs for 2 months. And then I completely the transition into valet parking for about 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Must have
Yes.
made some nice tips. Seen some
Yes,
interesting
yes, yes,
cars, some
yes.
interesting people. So that's what you did in the first half of your 20s. And when you look back at your 20s as, the decade of your 20s, what was the most significant thing that happened during your 20s? When you reflect on your 20s as a decade of your life, what was the most significant thing that happened there? Your first few 9 years or so in the US. Maybe it's a move here to the US, but maybe it's something else that happened. What was the most significant thing?
Well, I can tell you by when I was living already here for a year and a half, that's when I met my wife, Paola. I always say that it was it was beautiful because I see that nowadays is kind of a hard to find your significant one, significant other, and we found ourselves very young, so we grew together. We were two kids, 23 years old, and we grew together, and that is the one of the most significant parts. Is one of the biggest gift this country gave it to me was my family, honestly. But I can tell you that I was feeling the feeling that I can tell you, that describe is a kid on a candy store, because everything was. I'm coming from a small town, so looking the I-95, five lines going, five lines coming, it was something out of a movie for me. The
In Argentina, had you ever been to a big city? Like, had you been to Buenos Aires specifically?
Only when I was 8.
Eight. Okay.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
no,
the highways don't 40 years ago of Buenos Aires don't compare with Miami when you move here
no, no at all.
nowadays.
And it was for me. It was everything was new, and if you look at the pictures that at the pictures of those days, you will see this kind of a kid being surprised by how magnificent this country, how big everything is, right? It's just the street, the cars, the houses. I mean, it was everything was big, and so I was like, so you can see a big smile in my face on all the pictures. It's like I'm going, I'm trying to take a mental note, and it's all my pictures there, like I'm a kid, on a playground looking at something new. It was magical, honestly. That was.
And when you arrived here, you probably didn't speak much English. How would you rate your English when you arrived here in the country at 21?
I thought I spoke English until my first interview, because I knew from school, I am Gonzalo. How old are you? Yes, no, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Speak slowly, please.
Yeah.
Uh, so the lady comes to me on the laundry, and she goes, "Do you speak English?" And I go, "Yes." And she starts speaking. And then she sees my face and immediately said, "You don't speak English." You know, Actually, no, I got to learn the language here.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So could you tell us about the progression of jobs you had before starting your current business, Chamonix Marinas? We heard about the first two with the laundry business, and then with the valet parking. That takes us through maybe your late 20s. And can you tell us all the jobs you had after you left the valet business? The progression.
Sure. The first of all, I want to tell you that I always wanted to be a business owner.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my earliest memory is at the age of 5, and I can picture myself in a dark wooden desk, uh, owning 5 businesses. Don't ask me how the five, but 5 was the number. And when I moved here, I used to subscribe to magazines, and I couldn't understand the language. I didn't know the language, so I will go with the magazine, look at the pictures, make myself an idea of what they were talking about, and have the dictionary next to me, trying to look for those keywords. And that's how I was subscribed to 5 different magazines, all about business and money management. So by 2005, late 2005, I did one season in New York as a tour guide.
Hmm.
I was receiving people from Europe, mostly Spain, so I didn't need to speak the language, and I was a tour guide. I remember arriving on a Sunday morning to New York with a Michelin guidebook, read it, going through it, sort of a training, and by next Sunday, 7 days later, I was driving one of those vans with a microphone, just showing the people and the city and New Jersey and a little bit of everything, right? So that was those landmarks of New York. Then I came back after that season and I started looking for something else. I went back to the easy money, which is valet parking,
Hmm.
until I get to my next thing. And I got my real estate license in 2006. So I did a little bit of real estate. I figure out I still have the program that Sundays are for family, and usually Saturdays and Sunday are the busiest day of a real estate agent. And I didn't quite like it, honestly, working on Sundays, which in my mind, this is family time. This is family time. I'm missing my time, right? And so in 2007, I started working on a credit card industry as a retention department supervisor. But before that, I also opened my company of a car wash mobile company. So I had a van with all the setup, and I used to go to houses and hospitals and do the detailing for other people's cars. So that was my other entrepreneurial, attempt until I realized that always around cars, but I realized that if I want to have my own, I have to do something else, right? So
Hmm.
that was the thing. Those was pretty much my experiences before jumping into the marine industry.
So you have your car detailing business where you're going house to house to clean people's cars. And how do you make the jump from that to cleaning boats? Right? That was the next step?
No, once I decided to close that was when actually started doing the real
Okay,
estate
got it.
camps. I realized that Sundays are
Right.
not for me.
And
Then
at the time, you only had one person in your immediate family, which was Paola, your wife.
correct.
You weren't yet a father.
No, no,
Now,
no. I
you,
became a father at the age of 40,
yeah,
almost
5 years
5 years.
ago with the
Yes,
pandemic, 2020.
yes,
So
yes.
here you are, real estate. You're like, I can't do this on Sundays. I want to be with my wife. I want to hang out with family and make that a priority for us in the future. You leave that, and your next job, you go and is that when you
Credit card?
jump into Marina? Oh,
No,
credit
credit card
card.
processing. Yes, I
Okay.
work in a company as a supervisor for a processing, a merchant processing credit card
Okay.
company. And basically, we use the retention department was the cancellation department called retention. And the idea is when a client wants to cancel their
Yeah.
services, we need to reassess the situation, identify what is the reason, and then try to compensate to stay in the company. So we were very, very successful as a team. And in 2011, there is an opportunity for me to acquire a boat cleaning company. Only
Got
three services: uh, cleaning, the washing, the polishing, and the interior cleaning.
kind of in line with what you were doing before with cars,
Correct. Yes.
only with boats. And did you acquire that company in 2011?
That was, yes, April 18, 2011 was my first day. Correct.
That was the day.
Yes.
And did you have the cash to buy the business? Did you need to take a
No,
loan or?
no, we did it with my brother-in-law. He put the down payment. It was a $200,000 buy. He put $75,000, and then it was seller finance 125, 3 years known, 6%. That was the deal. Uh, um, if you speak with attorneys or accountants, one of the worst deals. But here I am. It's just I got to learn all the lessons and plus some more.
So
Through that.
$125,000 with a 6% interest rate, doesn't sound like a bad deal from where I'm sitting.
No, until the cash flow is about my payments were about 5,500, and I was
Good.
crossing between 7,500 and 9,500 dollars a month. So
Right.
out
So
of that, to
you
come
had
out with
two thousand net profit to live off of, right?
man,
2,000 maybe.
back in the day, I didn't make a penny for 9 months.
Okay.
My wife, thank God, she got a job and she supported the home for 9 months until I really start seeing some money because in those days there was no even Netflix and chills. As a matter of fact, it was the red box. I don't know if you remember the DVD movies, one
Yeah.
dollar per night. We will
Yeah.
go to the grocery store. It was Winn Dixie, $1 movie per night, one pizza out of the frozen aisles, and one bottle of Coca Cola, and that was our day night out at home for us. That's what we used to do,
Wow.
because we were,
That was the last decade, right? That was between 2011 and 2012, right? So
yes, yes.
so then the business starts to do a little bit better progressively. How did you manage to increase the profitability of the business, and what was the next step? When did you know I'm ready to take on the next big challenge? What was that next big challenge? Tell us about the progression. What happened next?
Well, they say the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately, right? Um, I always dream big. I always dream that the my brother-in-law was very successful, and by association, you know, when you are around people that they are very successful, and you understand that they are made out of bone, and, and blood and skin, you get to realize that you can do it too. That
Mm,
was the first affirmation for me. Is like I knew someone that they actually were able to do it, and I was like, man, don't. It's not about devaluating what they done, but it's actually making believe yourself that you can do it too. So that was by 2014. I already pay off everybody, even my brother-in-law. I
wow.
pay off my brother-in-law. I pay the company, and I started seeing a little bit of money. Um, so I was like a successful, right? It's like I
Right.
already pay off
I
the
made it.
company,
I'm a
a
business
little
owner
bit
and
of
I'm,
money,
yeah.
and but there was something in me that one of if you know me, you, you will see that one of my biggest trait as a human being is that I'm a very grateful man.
Hmm.
Everything, maybe because of my background,
Hmm.
um, for me everything is is gravy. Because from I'm constantly checking on where I'm coming from, where I am, so everything is gravy for me. Very grateful for what I have, and yet at that moment there was something inside of me that I understood there was something was missing, and I started looking, and I enrolled into Broward County College. Any school wasn't for me at that moment. I always say that I didn't go to school, but business was the school for me.
Right.
I
This,
I learned business through the business. Uh,
the school of hard knocks, right?
yes, yes. Thank you. Um, so that is when I start reading books. And I remember the one of the first books, and I always suggest that recommend that book is the E Myth by
Yeah.
Gerber, and he speak a lot about working on the business, not in the business.
Hmm.
So that is when I really start working on the business. I start changing the mindset. I subscribe to a group of entrepreneurs, and man, I remember that. I kid you not. I will put pennies. I will put coins together to make the flight to get to those guys. And some guys they were arriving in their private planes, and then I was at. It was a sort of a stressful stretch, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but as every elastic band, once you stretch, when it return, it doesn't come to the same location. It comes a little bit stretch, and that was a stretch for me. I was 35 years old. The average age of those guys, they were about 42, 45, and I was pretty much the only native Spanish speaker. All of the other guys, they were either from England, Australia, or United States, uh, already successful, but maybe having issues in other areas, maybe marriage, maybe some vices. For me, it was money. I didn't know how to manage. I didn't know how to make it. And then by association, I start seeing it and I start believing in myself. One of the biggest things is like I used to believe that I was a white shark on a small tub, in a hot tub, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when you bigger the pond and you start swimming with these really big sharks, and by association you start believing that it is possible, and you start hearing the story of other guys, and then it's like, man, this guy is no many different from me, right? We have the same fears, concerns, dreams, uh, the nature of the dreams, the nature of the concerns, the nature of the fears, they usually about the same. Entrepreneurs, we usually believe that we are a lone wolf, and we share many, many at the core. Usually are the same issues that we are dealing, and that's why I like to be involved in different type of programs or groups like leading peers, because we get to share with each other, and we're not different from the other, right? It's just the specific of the industry or in the business, but the core of it is about the same.
I love that. I hear a tremendous amount of gratitude while at the same time a lot of ambition in you, a lot of belief in yourself and what you can accomplish, a lot of clarity around being an entrepreneur, and also a lot of uh, humility in putting yourself in spaces where you're not the biggest one and you're there to learn, and understanding that with that humility, by staying humble, you can grow way more than if you're the biggest fish in the pond. I love all those things. Let's talk about let's kind of sidetrack a little bit into why you do what you do as a person, as a leader. I think we've covered the career that led to you starting Chamonix Marinas, and I think there's a pivotal moment where you go from, you've told me this story, how you go from, you were doing the detailing for boats, and then once you were doing the detailing for one of your clients, and you start having a conversation with him, and try to learn from this gentleman who's your client, this older person, and you tell him that you want to buy a marina, right? So tell us a little bit about that big jump. What was it, that made you say, I want to be a marina owner, and how did you make that final big jump happen?
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. I reflecting, he also speak about how big it goes back to you when you are a man of integrity, that you allow yourself to dream, but also never compromising your priorities in life, your principles, and by understanding that we live in a world so abundant that basically you can do it in everywhere in any industry. Um, the, the story is early 2019. I am looking for marinas in the west part of the Miami River, looking for places for hurricane spaces, basically, because most of the boats that we were managing, they were in the beach area. So I come to specifically this marina where I'm sitting now, and I speak with the owner. The owner also another Argentinian gentleman. I speak with him, and he goes, uh, "But why don't you take the whole marina instead of just renting a few spaces in Hurricane?" And I go, "What do you mean?" "Yes, I listen to you. You operate the marina. You pay me one fee, and then you operate the marina, and you know, and that's it." And I I I I respond to him, "I will only do it if you sell it to me." Now, at that moment, I didn't have $1. Honestly, true story. I didn't have $1. You know,
No equity in your house, even no equity at
no,
all.
nothing,
Nothing.
nothing,
Nothing.
no,
Okay.
nothing, zero
This
dollars, zero.
this is 2019. This is the Gonzalo whose house I've been to, and it's incredible. So this is 6 years ago, and you
Oh
had
no,
no equity.
that was another house. I used to live in 2019. I used to live in another house,
Okay,
uh,
so
in Plantation, as a
and you
smaller.
tell him I want to buy it. I'll only do it if you sell
I
me.
I will only listen from you if you sell it to me. And they go, guys, and the guy goes, "I'll do it. My kids, they only take money from me. I just want to travel the world. I'm 73, blah blah blah." He's still like I don't know, venting somehow. And I thought, my belief now is that he thought, and I was bluffing at that moment, that I couldn't do it. So he said, "I'll do it to you." And I just, try to keep my face straight, and I say, "Okay, cool." I left the place, and I was like, holy, shit,
Yeah.
what just happened? One entire day, scratching my head, thinking was right, because at that moment I was in management or a service guy. So I go to Miami Beach Marina. That is where I used to be the preferred vendor. I knock on the door of the owner of Miami Beach Marina, Mr. Christoph, and I said, "Mr. Christoph, do you have a minute for me?" And he goes, "Yes, come over." We start talking, we break ice about the family, that kind of stuff, and said, "So what's up? Well, how can I help you?" And I said, "Mr. Christoph, I have a I had this conversation yesterday. I went from Hurricane Spaces. The guy offered me to listen from him. I responded that I will do it if he sell it to me. He said yes. I am the service guy. You are the marina guy. I don't buy the hands that feed me. This opportunity of a marina is for you. Now, if you don't want to take upon it, I would love to have your blessing to have this support to take upon this opportunity." And that was a Thursday at 2 p.m. And he says to me, what do you have to do on Saturday morning? I said, "You tell me. Come pick me up. We will and see it together." We came on a Saturday morning. We saw it together. Um, he started asking a few questions. He pulls a calculator out of his pocket. It was so old that the numbers were flickering. That was like easy. I don't know. In my mind, it was like a 1980 calculator, something like that, right? And the guy goes, this is the amount that you should offer for leasing, and this is the amount that you should offer to buy it. And I go, you are saying this to me like I should buy it, but I brought you because you are the Marina guy. And he goes, Gonzalo, you are family to us. This is the natural growth and expansion of your business. You go take it. Um, and I drove him back to Miami Beach Marina
I know you, and you're getting emotional, man. You're getting emotional as you tell this story.
because there are those times, that is a pinpoint in your life.
Oh yeah,
And the right people, when you share your dreams, they've been there, they're not only cheerleaders, but they will help out for you to success. You know, maybe this guy was where I was 40 years ago, and he didn't need one more Marina. Plus, it was a 17 slips. You know, he coached me from here to Miami Beach Marina on how to negotiate the company. I came back on Monday and I channeled Mr. Christoph. It wasn't me. I just put myself on the side. I channeled Mr. C. That's what we call him. And I tell everything that he told me, and the owner somehow accept the offer. Which now it goes into the part how I got into the other part. There was a gentleman, another of my clients, he lent me the money on a piece of paper and say, Gonzalo, I have so much faith in you. You can do it, blah, blah, blah. And I needed $60,000 because it was $20,000 per month, 1 month deposit, last month and in the first month. And so it was $60,000. He lent me 50K and and another $10,000. It was I pre-sold Hurricane spaces without having the space, without having the Marina. I took a leap of faith. I gathered the money. We signed the papers, and within 2 years, I was able to buy the Marina. And within 40 months, we became the largest marine operator, sleep number wise, in the Miami River and about the fourth in Miami. So that was quite the expansion from
that's
17
incredible.
slips to 200 slips.
That's incredible. What an incredible story. And I hear about your mentor and how you channel Mr. Christoph, and I hear how this client of yours lent you the money, and it's clear that you did right by those people. You stuck to your principles. You kept your priorities in the right place, and they saw that in you, and they had faith in what you could do, and they became your cheerleaders. And by being a person that lives with gratitude yourself, you also attract people who are grateful. And these people had gratitude in their hearts. And so they felt like they could help somebody else. It takes that gratitude in one's heart to be a servant leader and to want to help others. And that's what they did. They opened the door for you and paid it forward to the next generation, like I'm sure you're going to do for the rest of your life. Listen, I wanna jump into the question I'm dying to get to. Why do you do what you do? What's your why? As a person, as a leader, what's your North Star, your highest priority? Tell us about that.
You hit it right in the heart, man. My my biggest why is my family. You know, I'm. Oh man, you could say that I am a devoted family man, and as a man, I strive to provide to protect, to be there for my wife and my daughter, to be there for ones that I am surrounded by. I am able and I'm very fortunate to be able to provide to my mom, to my father. They're divorced. They divorced about back in 2011, and to be able to be for my sisters. And so I will say, one is that. One is family, and the other part is my passion for expansion, for growth, for self growth, for diving very deep into myself and discovering who I am, what kind of man I seek to be, what kind of man I am. I told you many times that I go into life understanding that I am a black belt of where I'm coming from, and I am a white belt of where I'm going to. And working always on trying to keep my eyes open like a kid, Another one of my principles is I allow myself to dream. And when I dream, I get in contact with my inner child, because childs, they don't understand of impossibles. My daughter, she is a doctor in the morning, an astronaut in the noon, and and a piano player in the afternoon. So I connect with that inner child when I am in vision mode or dream mode. And once I identify the dream, I let the man know. And it's the man who goes for it.
That's amazing. Gonz, I want to talk about your leadership style, which I find really fascinating.
Thank you.
I want to learn a little bit about what you learned from being a husband to Paola and a father to Amelia about leadership that applies in all areas of your life. What have you learned about leadership at home as a dad, as a husband, that applies to life? And if you could also tell us a little bit about how would you describe your leadership style to our listeners? You've been the CEO of Chamonix Marina since its inception. If we were asking your team, well, let's start with you. How do you define your leadership style? And so tell us a little bit about how you develop that leadership style and what it is. Describe it for us.
I believe that everybody has to be accountable for their actions, and yet they deserve the chance to prove themselves. So in my case, I will say I am a macro manager, not a micro manager.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that what they should be doing. I love to empower people to go into their next level, because I understand that by becoming a bottleneck, if every decision depends on me, there is only one mind to try to resolve. But if we have, many minds, they can think better than just one. So I love to empower my people uh, by let them let them make their decisions. We have a clear understanding that in life you either win or you learn. I am paying for that education. When they miss the mark, it becomes a lesson, and I'm willing to pay for that lesson as long as we understand that it is that, right? I always say the first one is a lection. The second time I'm sorry, the first time is a lesson, the second time is a choice. So we, as we everybody grows, right? Um, we have more potential to keep growing as a company. Small owners, they have a hard time letting go
Oh,
because they think that once they let go, they have no control over. Little to understand that they may be asphyxiating the people that they come underneath, asking for some room to keep growing. If you let them grow, you can step outside. And what I became in the last, I will say, 3 years, um, I always say that I am a personal coach to my team, and I am a consultant of my own business. I don't do the day to day. I don't have to come and see how they're gonna do things. I just come here in the event that they need to speak with me. My job in the last, I would say, even 4 or 5 years, 40 years at least, is been about focusing on what's next. So if
oh,
you let them do their thing and you are there for them, you know, we all grow together.
it's amazing. So much came out from what you just said. But the key thing for me is that growth mindset that you have, that because you allow yourself to dream and to change, you realize that everybody needs that. And so you have a style which is letting people grow, letting them be accountable, make decisions, solve things, and just know what they're expected to deliver and trust them and coach them, empower them, which is amazing. Now, you said, you know, focus on the future. I wanted to segue right there. What's the one responsibility of a CEO that they simply cannot delegate and should not delegate? Uh, and you know, why is that so important, you know, in a company that to do that responsibility, and why does it have to come from the CEO? So what's that one responsibility? If you had to pinpoint, this is the one thing every CEO should do. They should not delegate it. It has to come from the CEO. If it doesn't come from the CEO, it's not gonna be as good. It's not gonna be that company's not gonna perform as it should.
Obviously, I can tell you my personal vision or my personal answer. I have only high school, so I have, you know,
Oh, I care about your take on this. I don't care about some book
so
answer.
I will tell you is the vision
Yeah,
and being there for your team.
yeah.
But at the same time, understanding that, you know, is it's not about it's their thing, it's our thing, but each one having it's like it's like a soccer team, right? Each player has a different skills.
Hmm.
As a CEO, I remember I can tell you one time we were with my COO, with my CFO, with my, you know, other manager, and we were discussing. We were in a pitch, and I go, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. And the guy who usually speak up to me is, well, what are you gonna do? And I go, I just did, you
That's what
know,
I do. That's what I do.
I just did. And he wanted to like I saw how he bit his mouth, you know, he's like, "Ugh." But he knew that I was right.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's like I just did. This is my job. My only
Yeah,
job is to sit, take a little bit of distance. Because when you are in the middle of it,
right.
you cannot see much. But if you take distance from the company, right, and you start seeing the things, right, that is when you can actually make better decisions. So I just sat down and I said, well, this is what each one you're going to do. And my job is telling you what you guys going to do.
Right, right. This is what we need each of you to deliver.
So
I brought you, I put you in your seat, and now I'm telling you where we're going, what I need you to deliver, and now I got to get out of the way, let you guys make it happen.
there you go. There you go. So I would say it's the vision. For me, it's about the vision, being for there when they need, because usually I can tell you they need to bend. They love
Yeah,
to, hey, this is where I am. This, okay, come, tell me about it.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
one is like, once they
Therapeutic. It's
discharge,
therapeutic.
yes,
Yeah,
they discharge that, it's like so you good? And sometimes they even have to listen to themselves to come up with their own solutions.
right.
A great teacher, I love this quote. A good teacher will give you the answer. A great teacher will ask you the questions to come up with the answers.
A
That
hundred
is what
percent.
I always try to do. I just sit, I ask them questions so they can come. Because you know, uh, Albert Einstein used to say, you cannot resolve a problem with the mind that created in the first place. So
Hmm.
every time you have a problem, it's just an opportunity for you to come up with an idea, so resolve it. So that is how you expand. If I do it, I am robbing the experience of
Hmm.
them to grow it. So
Hmm.
for me, it's about, okay, what do you think about this way? And giving different perspective, attacking the same situation from different angles until they get to, oh, this is what we can do. Okay, just go and give it a try.
What would you say to that, younger entrepreneur, the guy that you were at some point in the past who's struggling with cash flow, just like you were, barely, making enough money to provide, maybe needing the help of his spouse to make ends meet, about this style of leadership? Because that person's thinking, no, wait a second, I I can't take that approach. I can't just ask questions. I can't just let them have the opportunity to come up with the ideas. Time is pressing. I need the money right now, and I can't let them take a week. I know the answer. I know it right now. What would you say to that person?
Well, I will say that they are seasons,
Yeah,
they are chapters,
yeah,
and maybe in the infant stage of the company, you have to do it.
right.
There are things
Yeah,
that you have to do it because you cannot afford 1 cent to miss the point.
right.
And I understand that part.
But it's a
However,
progression, right? You graduate from that, and then
yes,
you have
yeah,
to change your leadership style. You have to
but you have
give
to.
them room.
You
You
have
have
to.
to. Yeah.
It's funny because every year and a half, every 2 years, like I can tell you, our company, we've been growing at a pace of 50% for the last 14 years.
Wow.
We grew about 67 times since we started.
Yeah.
It took me about 8 years to get to the 7 figures and about 6 to 8 figures.
Yeah.
Um, every 2 years, you know, I send a text message. It is a little bit cheesy, if you will.
Yeah.
It is the truth. I introduce myself because some people that maybe they met me when I was a boat cleaner.
Yeah.
Because remember, I will always have in my back, I'm the boat cleaner, right? So that's how I started in the industry. I have to, if you met me in 2014, 2015, I was the boat cleaner. If you met me in 2017, I was the boat manager. If you met me in 2019, I was the Marina operator, right? And right now, you know, besides that, my sole job is how we're gonna acquire more marinas. That's all I do.
Right. Yeah.
And each position requires a different skills.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as the skills that I have to have as a boat cleaner are different from the set of skills that I have to have as a boat manager or as a marine operator or as a boat or CEO, if you will, of a company who handles like a five different units of business within the same industry.
I want to get to how do you learn those new skills in just a minute. But before, let me ask you about this. It ties in with your leadership style, and I just really want to dive into this. A couple of years ago, around the time that you and I met, just over 2 years ago, in 2023, you took a motorcycle journey where you left Miami and you went all the way through the Americas, from North America through Central America, through South America to the southernmost tip of the continent of the Americas in southern Argentina and Chile. And I wanted to ask you about that. What made you decide to go on that adventure, and how did it impact your business, your family, and you?
Well, that was a dream that I had it since 2004. When I watched the movie Motorcycle Diaries,
Yeah.
so I watched the movie and I said, one day I'm going to do that. And believe it or not, I never watched once a video on YouTube about how to do the trip. Because in my mind, I didn't want to have the preconception of other people's experiences.
Right.
I
You didn't
wanted to
want
create
you
my
didn't
own.
want to watch the trailer. You wanted to
No,
go and watch the
I
movie.
wanted to
That's
create
right.
my own. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a route. I have a
Mm.
destination, and every day I was making the plan. So the plan was no plans. I knew that I want one thing, one step after the other. Many people they need to see, okay, I'm gonna get there, and this is how it's going to be the road.
Yeah.
Even as entrepreneurs, oh, we need a
Right.
road. And
Right.
sometimes it doesn't apply any of that, right? We
Yes.
still know where we're going,
Right.
but we have to have that flexibility of how we get that. COVID can happen, many things. Um, so 2019 happens, then 2020 I start getting the second Marina. 22 we get the third Marina. I was on a rolling, and also something happened. I share with you. My style is always jumping with 2 feet, and trusting. And I got a big lesson. I can say a big lesson. You know that. And for me, the best decision was to take a little bit of my time off to go into this amazing road trip. I call it a caress to the soul. Um, Three things happened. One is that I had the support of my wife, because you cannot go on a trip like that, without the support of my wife. As a matter of fact, she was my um, tour
Your
book.
navigator, right? Your
Yeah,
navigator. You.
she will book the hotels for me. I didn't know. Like this morning, I'm waking up. I say, okay, there is this place, this area, around 4 hours of driving that I'm gonna make it. And I was in the road in the motorcycle for about 2 to 3 weeks. Then I will drop my bike, take a plane, come home, be with my family, come to the office to see how things going, and then go back to the trip. It took me a year, actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
It took me a year to complete this road trip. We grew in that year. We grew 57% as a
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
keeping the same profit margins.
Wow.
That tells you, that is a testament of
Hmm.
when you empower the people and you trust them, they will do the best because they want to prove themselves also. They want to show that they are up to the task, and also I cannot deny how amazing of a team I have, honestly,
Yeah.
because it's just
Clearly, you had earned their respect to where now they weren't saying, "What are you gonna do?" You were on a motorcycle for a year, for the greater part of a year. and they were okay with that, and they were performing at a great level. So I want to get back to the skill development that you talked about. You know, every 2 years you introduce yourself as this new person for everybody that knows you and does business with you, your team, your clients, vendors, and you say, "This is who I am now." Um, and I know that you have a huge passion for personal development. You and I share that. Could you describe the magnitude of your investment in personal development and how your membership in Leading Peers fits into that picture of your total investment in personal development?
Oh my God. Well, I'm a guy who, I see my, those, let's say, tennis players, right? So they have the nutritionists, they have the coaches, they have the mentors, so they are surrounded by other people who are really good at one department that helps this person to grow as a whole. And that's how I see myself. So I have mentors, personal coaches. I do even have a shaman because I'm big into the spiritual growth. I meditate mostly twice a day during the week. I have my even meditation room, which I call a medinaptation room, uh, in my office. Um, and it's just my investment is in this, I will say, multiple six figures
Mm,
per year. Per year,
that's incredible.
is so leading peers is just one little aspect. I know everybody who's listening is like at Gonzalo, like we're gonna kill you after this, but I I get great value. That's why I'm staying, honestly. I am in groups that I pay 50K. I am with the coaches that charge me 60K, you know,
That's per year. Per
per year.
year.
So 400 bucks a month is a no-brainer for me.
And Gons, what did Leading Peers bring to your life that was missing until you joined? Why is it so valuable to you?
Perspective, uh, very assertive when it comes to business. Um, I get in other groups is about maybe there are different focus intentions, right? This one is purely business associated with you can bring any topic that you want to your meeting. So it can be personal, it can be something you're dealing with. One of the things that I really admire about you is your natural capacity to bring back to the main topic, to the conversation. People love to talk about this about the topic and then this about the story of the topic because they love to try to make a case about their story. And sometimes it's just a story and you bring them back, right? Um, you
Thank you
have
for that.
you have that, you know. I always say that things are born from the top and in sort of a cascade, they start coming down. Um, Leading peers is made out of people who have they're very genuine. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're not like other groups that they come and they try to take from you, that kind of stuff. And I love about that. So leading peers for me, it brings me focus. You know, what's the clear intention? What is like the plan? I'm a practical guy. It's just if we're gonna chat just about it, I call it mental masturbation. I'm sorry, but that's how I call it, right? So it's just what I once you identify the situation, my next question is, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
What is the action? Because without applying any action. We're just going to sit here and speak about it. But if you identify what's the issue and you apply, even if it doesn't work that one, at least you know that you're working towards the solution. Maybe that wasn't the way. You come back to the drawing map, drawing board, and you come up with something else until you figure it out.
Gonz, you've been a member for just over 2 years.
Yes.
And what could you share with our listeners, who many of them are members of Leading Peers, about one thing that you do to get the most value out of your membership? Maybe that changed. Maybe the first year, you focus on one thing to get the most out of Leading Peers, and now it's different. You're learning to use your time and your relationships in a different way. So if there was a shift, walk us through that shift. And if it's been the same thing, what's that thing that you focus on to get the most value, that clarity you talked about, that accountability of action? What is it?
It's clarity. It's about getting clear on what is it that you want, where you want to be, and apply the steps towards that direction. For me, I am in a place where honestly I pay my bills. I might be in a different season per se of other businesses. So my question, they might differ also by my personality, but I can tell you that being open, being honest to yourself, it can be one of the best things that you can do with yourself. Not only because when you're vulnerable, somehow you lower the guards of other people, and they can be real also. So when I go to the group and I have whatever issue that I'm dealing with, challenge, opportunity of growth, I just being humble. This is look at, hey, this is where I am. I know any better. Otherwise, I will be doing something different, right? If
Right.
I knew it better, I will be already there. But I'm not there because I don't know, and I'm learning as I go.
Yeah, I admire that. I admire that that humility I talked about earlier with you. Um, that comes with that growth mindset. And I've seen it so many times. You, instead of posturing that you have it all figured out, that you don't really know what your challenge is, you always come in and you say, I've got this challenge. I need help. And you're clear about what the challenge is so that you get the most value. And then you also inspire others to be vulnerable and share more important things that then you can help them with. I love that. Gons, I want to segue out of Leading Peers a little bit back to Chamonix. What's your 3-year vision? I mean, in a minute, just where do you see Chamonix, your company, 3 years from now? We're ending 2028, let's say 3 years from now. Where are you? What is Chamonix all about at that point?
The first thing that comes to mind is there are two laws or two principles in business. The first one is never mention your next move. The second one is go read the number one. But again, the dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. I want to get to 2,000 sleeps. I am at 200. It's quite a stretch. It have to be a fun stretch for me. Otherwise, why I'm doing it? I'm not doing it for the money at this point. Even though the reward that comes with money is amazing, you get to do many good things. The 3 years it will be buying more marinas.
Mhm.
Second phase is we're going to start building above those marinas.
Love it. Let's get a little more philosophical here. What's the age you want to live to, and enjoy good health? What's the maximum age in this lifetime that you want to live to, enjoying great health?
As a many times I thought of a number, and my number since I am really really young, I don't know, I will say 6 years old, 7 years old. It's always been 101. Don't ask me how.
101.
101. That always
Well,
been look at you know,
I love the answer because it feeds my something I wanted to ask you. So let's say you and I are having a conversation 1 year before you hit that age. Okay, so you're
yes,
100 at this
yes.
point, and you're healthy, and I ask you, how do you feel about your life, and what would make it feel at that point that it was the best life you could have lived? What would make you at 100 say, Leo, I lived the best life I could have lived? What would make that? What would make you feel that way at that point?
It will be, in which I always tell my wife, what a ride.
Uh-huh.
You know, I did a one of my most profound exercises that I did doing personal growth was they took us to a cemetery and uh, they we look into a what is it you call it
Yeah,
like a, let's say in
the
the grave.
stone, the stone. Yeah,
Yes, thank you. So we look at a stone and they said exactly your question. Write about who, if you can live your life and everything is possible, how it will look like, who's going to show up on your in your
funeral.
funeral, who's going to speak and what they're going to say,
Yeah,
if everything is possible. So I start writing, family man, adventurous guy, philanthropist, you know, uh, I make my mark in the world, and I gave
mm-hmm.
back. I pay
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we wrote all that into details, came back, and they said, what happened if you die today? Those people, they will be there, all the
Mm-hmm.
people, or there is a phone call due,
Right.
something that you have to make.
Yeah.
They will say that, or there are changes that you have to make.
Right.
And I was about 37, 30, yes, 36, 37 years old when I did that exercise. I came back. I realized that at that point I was a business operator. If I die, my wife will inherit a business with a lot of issues. No, a business. She wouldn't be a business owner. Um, at that moment, I was still, I always was able to help my mother and her mother, and I didn't want that story to repeat if I died. So
Yeah.
first order of business is I got myself life insurance,
Yeah.
and I started changing things. I can tell you, and I can pinpoint December 13, 2019, I turned 40. And the 14, the next morning, I'm having breakfast with my wife. And it's like I took, I made a balance of my life. And I got a little emotional. I hugged her and I said, today is the first day that I feel that I can die
Yeah.
because I have no debt.
Yeah.
No one phone call that I owe to anyone,
Yeah.
no one text. If you cross my mind, believe me, I will text you and I will say just as simple as "Hey Leo, how you doing? You just crossed my mind. You came to my mind. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just want to check in." Boom, that's it. So I don't have things that they live rent free in my mind,
Yeah.
you know, and I've been living my life from that day. So obviously I have a full of aspiration, um, dreams to fulfill, but I live, a life that if I go, if I drop dead today, I can tell you that I have no regrets. Even the ones, even those mistakes, they were there for a reason. They made me who I am today.
It's
You know.
amazing. That's amazing. Gons, we're coming to the end, and I wanted to ask you, what question would you like to respond to our listeners that I didn't ask?
Maybe because you know me very well, like a, uh, you know what, you ask great questions. Honestly, you're a natural of this. If this is your first one, kudos to
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
It's just like it seems like well, one, you did your homework. Two, you know me. Third, you know exactly what question to ask. Um, well, I will ask you, what is the intention of the podcast? To know the person, to know the business skills, leadership, or a little bit of everything.
It's all of those things. I want to uncover the stories that our members bring to the table and the lessons they learned,
Yeah.
the principles that they live by, the leadership skills that they've acquired and are working on, and create a lot of inspiration to anybody listening about what's possible when you approach things with the right principles and values and priorities. And through that inspiration, I'm hoping we'll make a lot of positive change happen. So that's the goal. And I didn't say it at the beginning, but there will be a pre-recorded something at the beginning that will always say, "This is the podcast for blah blah blah." So, Gons, let me ask you one last thing. What one thing would make the Leading Peers podcast stand out from everything else that you are already hearing and seeing, and make it very worthwhile for you to listen to every time we air a new episode?
Staying real and raw.
Hmm.
Many people, they prepare so much that you can see it through,
Yeah,
and these type
yeah,
of conversations,
yeah,
not even podcasts, but
yeah,
conversations. Uh, getting getting to know the people, and getting to know who they are,
yeah,
because they say that we have a persona that we have to live by and all of that. It's just, if we drop that,
yeah.
who you really are in the essence, right? And staying real and raw and relevant,
Hmm.
asking questions that matters. I think that is going to have a big impact, um, in this community.
Well, Gonzalo Fernandez, my friend Gon, thank you very much for sitting with me to have this conversation for our listeners. And on behalf of the entire team and Leading Peers and all of our community, thank you for all that you have done for Leading Peers. And thank you for the gift of your friendship and example. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you enjoy your episode and many more conversations to come with you, my friend.
Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it.